Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing fantastic, Neil. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic as well. And anytime we get to talk NFL, I get excited. And we have a great NFL veteran, former NFL player, Steve Wright, also Survivor Redemption Island. Steve, thanks for stopping by. And you know what? I'm going to just jump in really quickly with, it's awesome that you're here and to tell your story, especially having your book come out. It's got to be great to be able to tell your story. Everyone wants to tell their story, don't they?
Everybody has a story, and everybody I've just since I finished my book, I've really just encouraged others. It's such a great experience. And I did this with my wife during the pandemic. I just started writing. She said, you gotta put your story out there. The Aggressively Human is I'm a pretty mellow, naturally loving guy, and how I had to turn on that animal instinct that we all have in us, to just turn into basically a psycho killer in practice, and then especially in games, and then come off of that and walk out into the parking lot and be a friendly, loving person in front of a microphone or with kids and everything else, and just finding that balance. And she really pointed out that she could really see the golden retriever in me and the Rottweiler in me and how I balanced it. And there's so much now that seems to be out of balance with anger. And then the other side that's just really soft and get pushed around, and it's an ever moving pendulum of finding the right, what I call the yin and yang, the good with the bad, the right with the left, the mean with the soft. And so it was really a cathartic experience to dig into that. And as I lay things out, more would develop. And it's an amazing opportunity or experience to just write your story, Neil. I'm sure if you sat down and wrote it out, or I don't know if you have or not, but
Not yet. It's coming soon, but not yet. I'm waiting. Definitely got to get a little bit more to the story, but I have a crazy story to tell as well. And I'm going to go to Greg really quickly, but I wanted to touch upon, it's very true. When you're a professional wrestler, we basically, lift all the time. We go into the ring, we beat each other up. We sometimes use that anger in the ring, even though it's fake, right? Fake meaning like it's predetermined. There's an animal instinct to pro wrestling, especially when I was in there in the 90s. And so I came, and then I really have learned to reflect about my anger in the last, year and a half, to reflect, why do I do this? And we think as males, that's how we do it, especially as athletes. If somebody ticks us off, we want to, just take them out. And that's not how a human being should be. So I can't wait to hear more about that, Steve. But go, Greg, with your question.
That's pretty interesting, Neil. So Steve, when we were in the green room before we jumped on, you said something that was interesting, which was leaving a legacy for your son, who's in his 30s, young 30s now, and all the different things. And so if you had to pick like the top three things that you wanted to get across to your son through the book, what are those three things?
Find and listen to mentors. Mentors have just been paramount for me, and there's good and bad mentors. And I kind of just learned this by accident as I go into it in my book. But bad mentors are just as valuable. Seeing jerks that you just don't want to be like, and just like, ugh, so I want to be this other way. And so it kind of just helps develop you. But finding good mentors, believing in yourself when really nobody else does, giving it, looking for opportunities, walking through doors when you're afraid to. One of my things I go on is be the change, finding things that that I'd rather be another way. So I want to be the change. I see how others are treating others, be the change, mentors, and going after it. Just believing yourself enough to get after it.
Gotcha. So outside of sports, so let's talk about life mentors, or maybe they were same as sports mentors for you as well. Like who was like your most memorable mentor that helped you in your life at any age, whenever that was, and what impact did they have on your life?
Kind of simple things, but a guy named Doug Cosby, who was a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. I got to the Cowboys when I was 21 years old out here in California, and after meetings, the whole team would race over to a place called El Torito, and it was just full of women, and it's just great for young guys like me. And we only had a couple hours to hang out with these girls, and then we had to get back to curfew. But the girls were just swarming all over us, and it was great for us. But then guys, I'd see other married guys that are making out with these girls, and maybe leaving with the girls, and they got their wedding ring on, and they got kids and everything else. But then you see a guy like Doug Cosby, who's just putting his hand up and he's pushing these girls back. And I just remember being 21 years old thinking like, wow, I really respect that, because my parents hung together for 55 years or something like that. And it just made me want to be that way. That was Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka was another one that was just a great mentor to me. He was my special teams coach and the tight end coach with the Cowboys. And he'd take me for a walk. He'd see me frustrated. He'd throw his arm around my neck and say, let's go for a walk. My offensive line coach, he's pissing you off, isn't he? Yeah, he's just driving me crazy. I'm trying as hard as I can. He'd say, Steve, you start to worry if he stops yelling at you. And it just like threw my head into a spin, like, wow, he's yelling at me because he cares. And then another one, we're just battling and just getting frustrated. And he'd say, Steve, everybody here has got the physical tools. This is what's going to separate you. And it's like that in any sport. It's, when you're wrestling, Neil, or anything else, this is, you're going to get he says, you're going to get your ass kicked today. Yeah. Deal with it. Figure it out fast.
Yeah, and let's dive deeper into specifically enough the experience you talked about in the mentorship. One of the things that you did that was really challenging was the strike season. Everyone remembers that strike. I looked back in your Wikipedia, so hopefully it's correct, that you did something that was very challenging that writers today didn't do, or actors didn't do today when they were going through this, where you went with some of the replacement players. So tell us that story. That's really intriguing what happened there.
Yeah, I just got into the Raiders. My first line of business, and I go into all this in the book, but it was walking the picket line. And so I'm out there just ready to walk the picket line with everybody. And we just did it nonstop, just walking circles in front of the Raiders facility in El Segundo. And up on the second floor, Al Davis was always standing there walking by with some of the other management looking down at us. And all of us would go over, we'd run these hills, and we'd come back, we'd walk the picket line. And pretty soon, over a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, guys are disappearing. So I'm standing out there, and I'm a new guy. And I'm standing out there walking these circles with 3 or 4 or 5 other guys. So finally, I just went over and saw my folks. And then I got a call from the Raiders that they're going to jack up my salary and guarantee, and boom, boom, boom. And this went on. It's kind of a funny story in the book. But this just kept going on over the course of the evening. I ended up getting 100% guaranteed contact and jacked my salary up. It was like, okay, I've got to, I'd already been through the Cowboys, the Colts, the Invaders. And so I knew that you got to look out for yourself at a point. But I'm a team guy to the core. But at some point, I've got to just look out for myself. So I came back and drove through the picket line. Now a few more guys were there. There's maybe 10 guys. And because I knew it was starting to, that's why Al, I think, was just wanting to get some NFL experience back in there. But then all of a sudden the floodgates opened that afternoon. I went in the morning. Everybody else came in. Everybody, the whole team came in that afternoon. And yeah, there was a lot of finger pointing and mumbling and everything else, but I was the only one in there that came in the same day as everybody else. and had a fully 100% guaranteed contract that had been raised. So, kind of another lucky opportunity for me, and looking out for yourself. Again, though, I'm a team guy to a point, but then it's just I'm in charge of myself, and I've got to make sure that I'm in my best position.
Well, that's really great story, Steve. When did you know that you wanted to play professional football? I mean, how young were you?
Probably about 21, maybe 20. I've always kind of gone on the school of thought of being very present, not really looking out too far in front. This with my business and everything that's really worked well for me. Just having fun in 7th, 8th, 9th, all through high school, just playing football for the love of the game. And like I say in my book, there wasn't a coach in high school or college that said, hey, you've got what it takes to make the pros. It's just, I was very present and doing the best I could. And then about my junior year, I started receiving some things from different teams, the Cowboys, I think the Browns and the Vikings, calendars and some letters were watching you. And then all of a sudden the draft came and went, and guy signed me up as a free agent, myself, one of 120 other free agents with the Cowboys. And I thought for sure there was just not much of a chance of making it, but I'm going to give it hell. And I was just, I worked like an absolute beast that off season, getting ready to go to training camp out in Oxnard with the Cowboys. And I showed up, and I kind of made a joke that I was just a wood tick that they just couldn't get rid of. I was working so hard, and I was tireless and doing a little bit extra. So it really didn't happen to just maybe about my junior year. I thought, man, I might have an opportunity to play in the NFL, but I never thought about it before that.
Now, thinking about, I was talking to somebody else in the NFL a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about specifically everyone's like a star in high school, right? Then they get to college and it gets to a certain level. Everyone's talented in the NFL. It's all about work ethic after that. Wouldn't you agree? It's about how hard you work after, because everyone's so talented compared to everybody else. It's all about work ethic if you end up playing in the NFL or not.
Yeah, it's work ethic, and it's having the right head.
Mm-hmm.
Guys will think they're too good. I went through so many first round draft picks because they come in and they are the king. I was nothing. I wasn't all conference in high school. I didn't have any honors in college. So there was just no chance in heck I was going to make it, but I was going to fight like and scrap like a dog. Well, picture in my book, John Clay, who was, not throwing him under the bus, but he was a first round draft pick in 1987 when I got there. And I don't think he made it more than 2 or 3 years. Came in really out of shape, couldn't keep up with anybody in the drills. And I've just seen a lot of that. They just, they're the big guys in high school and college. But it's a whole nother league, and you got to be ready for it, no matter if you're a free agent or a #1 draft pick. And a lot of guys just don't come in for that, in that shape, or mental, the mentality game, which is huge in pro sports.
Yeah, business too. I'm sure you apply that in your company is a intellectual game. Yeah,
my company Cloudburst. Just making sure I've got a good product before I go out and try to sell it. I ended up landing the Summer Olympics in Atlanta in 1996, and we hadn't even done a small town fair, tried to keep that thing cool. But we came up with a great product, and just going for it, like we had talked about earlier, just go for it. And we went to Atlanta, and a couple of weeks later, we got the contract, and then it's fulfilling it. It's just almost like Neil was saying there. Then once you get to the NFL, or once you get to the big game, you got to produce, and we did. And then that kind of just parlayed onto selling things to the military and opening up distributors around the world, and got into 1,500 Home Depots and Lowe's and all the garden centers, Targets, Costco's,
Wow.
Walmart. Yeah, it's just kind of one thing led to another. It wasn't a grand vision of I want to get it out into all these stores, or I want to cool the Olympics, or get it to the military. Let's just get some good product here, and oh, hey, we can do this restaurant over here and cool this, and kind of just when opportunities open, plow through them. And I read about that as an experience I had with Tony Robbins of walking on fire. And the
Oh,
whole philosophy of that is take that first step. And once you take that first step, keep moving. You know, you're gonna get some hot feet, or you're gonna fall apart and go bankrupt or something. But once you take that step to open your business or whatever it is in life, don't be scared. You know, believe in yourself, do whatever it takes to take that first step and keep moving.
I'm with two amazing CEOs right now, right? And I'm on that phase at 50 years old, trying to be the level of Greg Hanna and Steve Wright, and seeing specifically where you guys what you've accomplished in your life to get to where you are, to that level, because it's another game. It's just like the game of anything in a game of life. Would you say that you use, Steve, some of the ability to know how to make connections in the NFL once you started your business, to say, okay, I know I kind of learned a lot from maybe the front office and learned certain things in business while I was in the NFL, that I knew exactly what those steps were to take? And then it looks like now surrounding yourself with people like Tony Robbins, that you see, if you surround yourself with the right people, you're going to really grow.
Well, it's really interesting how you put that, because my philosophy then, and then especially I could see it afterwards, is I met Tony while I was playing. I just got through reading his book, Awaken the Giant Within. And so in the off season, I went out to Palm Springs to walk that with him. But no, the best time for these young athletes, whatever what sport you're in, you get invited to golf tournaments. And I'm playing, you know, in a foursome with three guys that are CEOs of banks, of different companies. These guys want to hang around you. This is the opportunity. This is the time that you're at your peak to just say, hey, could I get your business card? And then when you get home, send them an 8x10. How great it was golfing with you today. And I guarantee you, if you played another 5 or 10 years and got out of the league, you could call this guy and say, hey, remember playing golf? The guy would love to. Hey, why don't you come in? Let's take a look at you. You might have a good position here at the bank or something. But make those opportunities now while you're playing versus afterwards. Sure, learn from those guys while you're out there, but make those connections while you're an athlete at the peak of your career.
Great point.
It's my feeling.
Really
Instead of being an old guy, well, you're retired now, and you know, I just don't. I think maybe the guys are starting to catch on to it a little bit more now with you know, the social media and everything else. But yeah, my thing was just trying to make those connections, and just also just being good to people, just being kind. It pays off, and I call it karma. That's how I got the Olympics. I was a shoe salesman, came into our locker room with the Raiders and had kind of a mediocre pair of shoes. I was wearing, I don't know, Nike or Converse or something, and nobody gave this guy the time of day. And this was about probably 1990. And I said, give me your shoes. I'll try them. The guy was just flipping that I wore them in our next game. And his boss put this guy on a pedestal and just was so appreciative that he got a pair of shoes in the NFL. Well, it turned out, so now we go to Atlanta and do our sales pitch, and I'm going up against GE, you know, just a behemoth. And we're just two little guys out in Marina Del Rey, California. And then we got the contract, and I was just laughing. Who is this really on the phone when I was talking to him? He said, no, my name is Mike Ariano. He goes, you don't remember me. I was the shoe guy in your locker room, and everybody else treated me like dirt. You were the only one cool to me. And basically, in a nutshell, now is payback time. The Olympics are yours. Make us proud.
Wow.
And so it was just not looking for something for being cool to the kid. I was just, yeah, I'll give him a shot. But little did I know the making of that developed and came back to me 6 years later.
Yeah, that's a beautiful lesson in, reciprocal generosity, giving people just to give, from your heart, that's
right.
yeah, that's an amazing story. It's got the electrical chills going through me on that one. That was
That's awesome.
that was
That's
really
awesome.
nice. Yeah, thank you
I've had
for
a
that.
few opportunities like that throughout my life, and I've got them in the book.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I don't know, Neil, if you're ready for
I
my
wanted to
favorite
talk
question.
Survivor, and then we'll go to your final question. Let's
All
talk
right.
Survivor.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Now, how did you get? So look at this. You're learning these things. What a branding opportunity for you, right? To go on Survivor. Would you agree?
Well, okay. First of all, I've got to say that it's crazy, but I'm under a contract probably this thick.
Whoa!
I
really can't talk about it.
Yeah, it's $5 million a shot. But I was just down at the right place at the right time with an open mind, and that's been kind of the story of my life. Keeping an open mind, and when there's an opportunity that opens up, charge. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to charge. And it's like they say, make the plane, after you take off. But I was down at Fox Studio seeing Howie, go down there every couple of years or something like that and hang out with him and in the green room, and met somebody that was involved with the show, and they talked me into it. And next thing I know, I landed in Nicaragua, and that's about all I can say.
Really, that's crazy. And is that CBS that has you onto that?
I'm sorry.
Was CBS the one that you're not allowed to say anything more about it?
Yeah, it's the Survivor contract. It's not really CBS. It's the Survivor contract, and now it's owned by Amazon. And
yeah, of course, right?
That's
why. You want Jeff Bezos to come after you, right? No.
I think that's why the show's been so successful for 45 seasons. Yeah, but it's I did get back here and ended up having to have a front tooth pulled because I had so much bacteria in it. Because this is your toothbrush, and like I said, this is your toothbrush and your toilet paper and everything. It's the show is 100% real.
Wow.
Okay.
It's real. There's nobody's eating anything on the side or anything. That's what the show's all about.
Okay. I would never have known that. I've talked to lots of reality stars, didn't know they had contracts not to say anything. It must be the Survivor brand. All right, Greg, go ahead with your.
I mean, everybody's got NDAs these days, right?
Exactly.
NDAs.
Well, that was a short conversation about Survivor, so sorry about that.
No, I don't care. That's more interesting what you told us, right, Greg? We like those kind of answers.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, Steve, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you. And I always ask this question of all of our guests, and a lot of it's for me to my own personal development. I believe in lifelong learning and daily learning. It's so critical, but also for all the people that, if I'm fortunate enough to have them listen to this. So here goes. So Steve, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
To love myself and believe in myself. Short and simple. Believe in myself and be my best friend. Love yourself. When everybody else is down on you, there's pressure. It's I get myself out of it. That's the short, simple, real answer. Yeah, just having supportive parents that really stress that didn't put pressure on me, that just love. Grew up in a house full of love, and so really learned to love myself, which you don't see a lot of, and it'll take you farther than almost anything else, I think.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow, I wanted to finish up, Steve, when you talked about anger, different things. So you went through a period to improve yourself from the gridiron to change who you are in ways to kind of that process, especially with how had potentially concussions in the NFL and stuff like that, and kind of form yourself as an entrepreneur versus a football player. Did you go through the sort of that way so you could not have the temper that maybe you had on the gridiron?
No, because I'm naturally like this, and I had to turn myself into like a psycho killer before games. I'd sit in my locker, just taping my knuckles and just trying to think as ugly as I possibly could. Otherwise, it was the transition for me was really easy because I had picked up this misting company, misting idea about 3 years before I retired. I brought it to training camp and then to our first preseason game. And so I never really had a time I went from one profession right into my entrepreneur.
That's great.
Doing it the last couple of years. And then once I retired, I left the locker room and opened up an office and kind of just started grinding from there. So it was a super easy transition.
That's great.
No depression, no missing the game. And I was fortunate that the team was moving to Oakland. And so what are you going to do? You got to figure it out now. You're going to go to Oakland and struggle through your 13th season or whatever it's going to be, or you got an opportunity here. And I knew it was going to happen at some point. And I loved Los Angeles, and I'd been here for 7 or 8 years. So I just made the switch and kept a good attitude and did what I could to start growing a good product.
Best place people can purchase your book and learn more about you. Where can they go?
They can go to Amazon. They can go to my website. My website's wrightauthor.com. And I've been blogging weekly. And there's a ton of pictures of whatever, Bo and I, and game shots. And but I've got probably 20 blogs in there. And then you can buy just on a click to Amazon. I just got through recording the Audible. I've got the ebook in there now, a hard and soft cover, and all it goes on sale the 7th of November.
All right. We appreciate it, Steve. Thanks again, man.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
thank you
Steve.
for
That was a lot of fun.
here. Greg, pleasure.
All right.
Neil,
That was
well,
that was a special interview of Celebrity Interviews live from the grotto with Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.